My name is Owen. I'm 36 years old, and I work as a logistics director for Cascade Supply Chain in Seattle, Washington. I manage distribution networks for retail clients across the West Coast, coordinating everything from warehouse operations to last-mile delivery. It's demanding work, but it pays well enough to support a comfortable lifestyle for 2 people. The problem was, I've been supporting a comfortable lifestyle for 3 people. I just didn't know it yet. My wife, Melissa, and I have been married for 7 years. We met at a friend's wedding when I was 28. She was working as an executive assistant at a tech startup, and I was climbing the ladder at Cascade. We clicked immediately. She was warm, funny, ambitious. We got engaged after a year, married 6 months later. For the first few years, everything worked. We both had careers. We split expenses fairly. We talked about buying a house, maybe having kids someday. We were building something together. Then 3 years ago, Melissa changed jobs. She left the startup for a position at Apex Digital, a marketing agency downtown. Better title, better pay, better opportunities. I was happy for her. Proud even. That's when I met Derek. Not in person. I met him through Melissa's constant mentions of him. Derek said this. Derek thinks that. Derek suggested we try this new restaurant. Derek recommended this show. Derek. He's just my work husband, Melissa would say, laughing when I asked who Derek was. Every woman has one. It's harmless. I didn't know what a work husband was supposed to be, but I knew I didn't like how often his name came up in our conversations. Still, I told myself I was being paranoid. Melissa worked closely with Derek on client accounts. They spent 40 hours a week together. Of course she'd mention him, but it wasn't just mentions. It was the way her face lit up when she talked about him. The way she'd check her phone during dinner and smile at messages I wasn't allowed to see. The way working late with Derek became her default excuse for coming home at 9, 10, 11 at night. I tried talking to her about it. Asked if we could spend more time together. Suggested date nights, weekend trips, anything to reconnect. You're being clingy, she'd say. I have a demanding job, Owen. I can't just drop everything because you're feeling insecure. So I stopped asking. Stopped suggesting. Stopped trying to compete with Derek for my own wife's attention. And I started paying closer attention to our finances. We'd always kept our money separate. Individual checking accounts, individual credit cards. We split the mortgage and utilities 50-50. Everything else was personal responsibility. Except about a year ago, Melissa asked if I could cover her half of the mortgage for a few months. She was dealing with some unexpected expenses. She said, medical bills from a specialist appointment. Her car needed new tires. Nothing major, just temporary. I said yes. Of course I said yes. That's what partners do. A few months turned into 6 months, then a year. And somewhere along the way, I'd stopped asking when she'd start contributing again. The mortgage payment just came out of my account automatically. $3,200 every month. Then she asked if I could cover the utilities too, just until she got caught up on some credit card debt. Then the internet bill, the car insurance, the grocery budget. Within 18 months, I was paying for everything. The mortgage, the utilities, the food, the subscriptions, the maintenance on both cars. Everything except Melissa's personal spending, which she handled with her own income. And she made good money. $75,000 a year as a senior account coordinator. More than enough to cover her share of our expenses. So where was it all going? I found out on a Tuesday evening in late September. Melissa was in the shower, and her phone was on the kitchen counter. It buzzed with a text message. The preview lit up the screen. Derek, can't wait for this weekend. Napa is going to be amazing. Just you, me, and excellent wine. My stomach dropped. I picked up the phone, opened the message thread before I could talk myself out of it. What I found made me physically sick. Months of messages. Hundreds of them. Planning trips, sharing inside jokes, making plans that had nothing to do with work, and everything to do with a relationship I wasn't part of. They'd been to Victoria, British Columbia together in July. Told Owen I was at a conference. Melissa had written. He didn't even question it. They'd spent a weekend in Portland in August. Anniversary trip, Derek had called it. 1 year since we met. They had dinner reservations every Thursday at restaurants I'd never heard of. They had hotel bookings I'd never seen charges for. They had an entire secret life built on my dime while I worked 60-hour weeks to keep our household running. I scrolled back further, found the evidence I needed. Venmo transactions from me to Melissa labeled mortgage help and utility coverage, followed immediately by Venmo transactions from Melissa to Derek for Napa Trip Fund and Victoria Hotel. She'd been using my money to finance her affair. I took screenshots. Every message, every transaction, every hotel booking. Sent them all to my personal email. Then I put her phone back exactly where I found it. When Melissa came out of the shower, I was sitting on the couch watching TV like nothing had happened. "I'm heading to bed early," she said. "Long day tomorrow." "Sure," I said. "Sleep well." She kissed my forehead absently and disappeared into our bedroom. I sat there until midnight, staring at my phone, looking at the evidence I'd gathered. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of partnership, of trust, of building a life together. And she'd been spending my money on another man. The rage came later. First came the planning. I called in sick the next morning, told my boss I had food poisoning and needed a day to recover. Then I called my bank. "I need to remove someone from my automatic bill pay," I told the customer service representative. "Of course, sir. Which payment would you like to cancel?" "All of them." The mortgage payment that had been automatically withdrawing from my account for 18 months? Canceled. The utilities in my name that I've been covering? Canceled. The joint credit card I've been paying off every month while Melissa added charges? Remove my payment authorization. Then I called our landlord. We rented a townhouse in the Fremont neighborhood. Nice place, $3,200 a month. Lease in both our names. "David, this is Owen Shun. I need to give you a heads up about something." "What's going on, Owen?" "My wife and I are separating. I'm moving out at the end of this month. I wanted you to know that I'll no longer be contributing to the rent payment." There was a pause. "You're on the lease through next May." "I understand. But our verbal agreement was 50-50 on expenses. I've been paying the full amount for over a year while my wife contributed nothing. I'm not doing that anymore. She makes $75,000 a year. She can afford to pay rent." "Owen, I sympathize, but legally you're both responsible." "I know. And if she doesn't pay, you can pursue both of us for the balance. But I'm telling you right now, I won't be paying anymore. Do with that information what you will." I hung up before he could argue. Next, I called a divorce attorney. His name was Martin Feldman, and he came highly recommended by a colleague who'd gone through a messy separation 2 years prior. "Mr. Chun," Martin said when I arrived at his office that afternoon, "tell me what's going on." I told him everything. The work husband, the financial arrangement, the text messages, the trips funded with my money while I paid all our bills. Martin listened, taking notes, his expression neutral. "Do you have documentation?" he asked when I finished. I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshots. The messages between Melissa and Derek, the Venmo transactions, the hotel bookings. Martin's eyebrows rose slightly. "This is very thorough. I work in logistics. Documentation is what I do." "Good. That's going to help." He leaned back in his chair. "Here's the situation. Washington is a no-fault divorce state, so the affair itself won't impact the dissolution. But it absolutely will impact asset division and any potential spousal support claims. She's going to ask for spousal support. If she's smart, she won't. Not with this evidence. But people do stupid things when they're angry." He tapped his pen against his notepad. "You said you've been paying all household expenses for 18 months. Everything except her personal spending. And she makes $75,000 a year. Allegedly. I haven't seen her pay stubs in over a year. We'll subpoena those. If she's been using marital income to fund an extramarital affair while you covered all household expenses, that's going to look very bad for her in court. What about the lease? You're both liable until it expires in May. But if she can't make the payments and the landlord pursues you, you can seek reimbursement from her in the divorce settlement." He smiled slightly. "She's about to learn a very expensive lesson about financial responsibility. When can we file?" "I can have papers ready by Friday." "Do it." I left Martin's office and went to my brother's apartment in Capitol Hill. Ryan was 3 years younger than me, worked as a software engineer at Amazon, and had a spare bedroom he'd offered me months ago when I'd first mentioned things were bad with Melissa. "I'm taking you up on that offer," I said when he opened the door. "When?" "Tonight." Ryan stepped aside. "I'll help you pack." We went back to the townhouse that evening while Melissa was still at work, probably having drinks with Derek, celebrating their upcoming Napa trip that I'd inadvertently funded. I packed methodically. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, important documents. I took the furniture I'd brought into the marriage, a bookshelf my dad had built, a desk from my college apartment, a chair my grandmother had left me. I left everything we'd bought together. The wedding photos stayed on the wall. The kitchen supplies we'd registered for stayed in the cabinets. The TV we'd bought together stayed in the living room. I took what was mine and nothing more. By the time Melissa got home at 9:30, I was gone. She called at 10:15. I didn't answer. She called again at 10:30, then 11, then midnight. At 12:15, she texted, "Where are you? Your stuff is gone. What's happening?" I didn't respond. At 1 in the morning, my phone rang again. This time I answered. "Owen, what the hell is going on?" Melissa's voice was high, panicked. "Your clothes are gone. Your desk is gone. Did someone break in? Should I call the police?" "No one broke in," I said calmly. "I moved out." "You what?" "I moved out. I'm done, Melissa." "Done with what?" "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about Derek. I'm talking about Napa. I'm talking about the fact that you've been using my money to fund your affair for over a year while I paid all our bills." The silence on the other end was deafening. "I can explain," she finally said. "I don't need you to explain. I have your text messages. I have the Venmo transactions. I have hotel receipts. I have everything I need. You went through my phone." Her voice shifted from panic to outrage. "That's a violation of my privacy. And using my money to take trips with your boyfriend is a violation of our marriage. I'd say we're even. Derek is not my boyfriend. He's my colleague. Colleagues don't book hotel rooms together in wine country, Melissa. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. And I'm done pretending otherwise." I kept my voice level, emotionless. "You'll be served with divorce papers on Friday. I've canceled all automatic payments coming from my account. That means the mortgage, utilities, everything. It's all on you now. You can't do that. We have a lease." "We do. And you make $75,000 a year. You can afford to pay rent." "Owen, please. Let's talk about this. Come home. We can work through this." "I am home. At my brother's place. And there's nothing to work through. You made your choice when you started sleeping with Derek. You made your choice every time you took my money and spent it on him instead of contributing to our household. You chose him over me every single day for over a year. Now you get to live with that choice. I made a mistake. You made 100 mistakes. You made a choice. There's a difference." I hung up. She called back immediately. I blocked her number. The next morning, I woke up in Ryan's spare bedroom to 17 text messages from Melissa, sent from a different number. They ranged from apologetic to angry to desperate. "I'm sorry. Please let me explain. You're overreacting. We can fix this. You're being cruel. How am I supposed to pay for everything? Derek means nothing to me. It was just a distraction. Fine. Keep acting like a child. See where it gets you. Please, Owen. I love you. Don't throw away 7 years over a mistake." I forwarded them all to Martin, then blocked the new number 2. At work, I threw myself into a major contract negotiation with a new retail client, focused on spreadsheets and logistics networks instead of the implosion of my personal life. My team noticed I was sharper than usual, more focused, working longer hours. "Everything okay?" my assistant director asked on Thursday afternoon. "Getting divorced," I said without looking up from my laptop. "Shit. I'm sorry, man." "Don't be. It needed to happen." On Friday, Melissa was served at her office. Martin had arranged for a process server to deliver the papers during business hours. Professional, efficient, humiliating. She called Martin's office immediately. He forwarded me the voicemail. "This is unconscionable," Melissa hissed into the recording. "Serving me at work in front of my colleagues? Tell your client he's going to regret this. Tell him I'm going to take him for everything he's worth." Martin called me that afternoon, amused. "She's angry," he said. "Good." Her attorney reached out. "Name's Patricia Wells. She's competent, but she's working with a bad set of facts." "What did Patricia say?" "That your wife wants to negotiate a settlement. She's willing to agree to the divorce if you'll continue covering the townhouse rent through the end of the lease." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Tell her no." I did. Patricia said she'd be back in touch. The first mortgage payment I didn't make was due October 1st. The landlord, David, called me on October 5th. "Owen, the rent is late. I told you I wouldn't be paying anymore. And I told you that you're on the lease. I can pursue you for the balance. You can try. But I'd recommend going after Melissa first. She's still living there, and she makes good money. I've tried calling her. She's not answering. Not my problem, David." He sputtered for a minute, then hung up. On October 10th, David filed an eviction notice for non-payment. 3-day notice to pay or vacate. Melissa called Martin's office in a panic. Patricia Wells followed up with a formal letter demanding I resume rent payments immediately. Martin's response was brief and devastating. Mr. Chun has no obligation to subsidize Ms. Chin's housing while she conducts an extramarital affair. Ms. Chin earns sufficient income to cover her own expenses. She is welcome to do so. By October 15th, Melissa had moved out of the townhouse and back in with her parents in Tacoma. She was 34 years old, sleeping in her childhood bedroom, because she'd spent all her money on Derek instead of rent. The irony wasn't lost on me. Derek, apparently, wasn't interested in helping with her living expenses. When Melissa asked if she could stay with him while she figured things out, he told her it was moving too fast and he needed space. I heard all this through mutual friends who were still in contact with both of us. They'd ask how I was doing, and I'd tell them the truth. Then they'd feel compelled to tell me what Melissa was saying. She was devastated, they said. She'd made a terrible mistake. She wanted to fix things, but I wouldn't even talk to her. I didn't correct them. Let her tell whatever story she needed to tell. The facts would speak for themselves in court. The divorce moved forward steadily. Washington's mandatory 90-day waiting period meant we couldn't finalize until late December at the earliest, but the discovery process was already underway. Patricia Wells subpoenaed my financial records. Martin subpoenaed Melissa's. What we found was enlightening. Over the past 18 months, while I'd been paying $3,200 in rent, plus $400 in utilities, plus $600 in groceries, plus insurance, plus subscriptions, plus maintenance, roughly $5,000 per month in household expenses, Melissa had spent her income on $8,400 in hotel bookings, all shared with Derek based on her text messages, $6, $200 in restaurant charges, verified through her credit card statements as dates with Derek, $4, $800 in travel expenses, flights, rental cars, activities, $3, $500 in clothing and accessories, $2, $100 in spa services and salon visits. She'd spent over $25,000 on her affair in 18 months while contributing exactly $0 to her household. Martin presented this in a preliminary settlement conference in early November. Patricia looked at the spreadsheet, looked at Melissa, and I watched her face tighten. "We need a caucus," Patricia said. They left the room. Martin and I sat in silence for 10 minutes. When they came back, Melissa looked like she'd been crying. Patricia looked resigned. "My client is prepared to offer the following," Patricia said. "She agrees to waive any claim to spousal support. She agrees to be responsible for the remaining lease payments on the townhouse. She agrees to assume all joint credit card debt. In exchange, she asks that you split the value of the joint savings account 50-50. We had $12,000 in joint savings. I contributed $10,000 of it. Counteroffer," Martin said. "Mr. Chun keeps the entire savings account, which is majority his contribution anyway. Ms. Chun waives spousal support and assumes the lease and credit card debt. In addition, she agrees to reimburse Mr. Chun for 50% of all household expenses he paid during the period of her affair, approximately $45,000. Patricia's eyes widened. "That's not reasonable." "It's extremely reasonable. She earned income while he paid her living expenses. She used that income to fund an extramarital relationship. He's entitled to reimbursement for her share of expenses she should have been paying all along. She doesn't have $45,000. Then she can make payment arrangements. We're flexible on terms." They caucused again, this time for 20 minutes. When they returned, Melissa wouldn't look at me. "We agree to everything except the reimbursement," Patricia said. "My client will pay $20,000 over 4 years. That's the best we can do." Martin looked at me. I nodded. "Acceptable," Martin said. We signed the agreement that afternoon. The divorce would be final as soon as the waiting period ended. Melissa would keep her car and her personal belongings. I'd keep mine. She'd assume all joint debt and pay me $20,000 over 48 months. As we left the conference room, Melissa grabbed my arm. "Owen, please. Can we talk? Just for 5 minutes." I looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman I'd married 7 years ago. The woman I'd loved, supported, built a life with. She looked smaller now. Tired. The confidence she'd worn like armor when she talked about Derek was gone, replaced by something that looked like regret. "There's nothing to say, Melissa. I'm sorry. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But it didn't mean anything. Derek and I, it was just what? Just fun. Just a distraction. Just something to do with the money I gave you while I paid all our bills. She flinched. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You used me. You used my money, my trust, my commitment to fund a relationship with someone else. And when I finally called you on it, Derek disappeared and left you with nothing. He said he loved me. She whispered. He loved what you could give him. Expensive dinners, weekend trips, hotel rooms. All on my dime. The second you couldn't provide that anymore, he was gone. I pulled my arm free. You chose him over me every single day for 18 months. Now you get to live with that choice. I walked away. I didn't look back. The divorce was finalized on December 28th. I signed the papers in Martin's office. Melissa signed them remotely. 7 years of marriage, ended with a few signatures and a court filing. I spent New Year's Eve at Ryan's apartment, drinking good whiskey and watching the fireworks over the Space Needle. How are you feeling? Ryan asked. Relieved. Not sad. I was sad for 18 months while she was off with Derek. I'm done being sad. The first payment from Melissa arrived in February. $416.67, exactly as specified in our agreement. It would continue for the next 48 months, a monthly reminder of the price of her choices. I heard through mutual friends that she and Derek tried to make it work after the divorce was final. Lasted 3 months before he left her for someone else. Someone younger, someone without baggage, someone who hadn't just gone through an expensive divorce. Melissa, apparently, was devastated. Told everyone who'd listened that Derek had been the love of her life, that I'd ruined everything by being controlling and unreasonable. The people who knew the truth stopped talking to her. The people who weren't worth my time explaining it to. I moved out of Ryan's place in March and into my own apartment in Ballard. 1 bedroom, city views, a fresh start with no memories of Melissa or the life we'd built together. Work was good. I got promoted to senior director in April, managing operations for the entire Pacific Northwest region. More money, more responsibility, more travel. I dated casually. Nothing serious. Wasn't ready for serious. But it was nice to meet people who saw me as someone worth investing time in, rather than someone to extract resources from. One Saturday in May, I was having coffee at a cafe on Market Street when I saw her. Melissa, looking tired and worn, standing in line with her mother. She saw me at the same time. Her face went pale. I could have looked away, could have pretended I didn't see her. Instead, I nodded once, a simple acknowledgement, then went back to my laptop. She didn't approach, just collected her coffee and left with her mother, glancing back once before disappearing into the crowd. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. I saw you today. You looked happy. I'm glad. I'm sorry for everything. I hope you can forgive me someday. M. I read it twice, then deleted it without responding. Forgiveness wasn't something I owed her, and happiness wasn't something I needed her permission to feel. I'd spent 18 months being someone's ATM while they built a life that didn't include me. I'd spent 7 years investing in a partnership that only one of us valued. Now I was free. Free from the financial burden. Free from the emotional manipulation. Free from the constant wondering if I was enough. Melissa had replaced me with her work husband while I paid all the bills. She'd made that choice consciously, repeatedly, for over a year. When I stopped paying, her whole carefully constructed fantasy collapsed. The trips ended. The dinners ended. Derek ended. And she was left with exactly what she'd earned. Nothing. As for me, I had my self-respect back. My financial independence. My future, unburdened by someone who only valued what I could provide rather than who I was. That was worth more than any amount of money I'd spent keeping our household running while she betrayed me. Some people learn that actions have consequences. Others just learn to blame everyone else when those consequences arrive. Melissa could spend the rest of her life telling herself I was the villain in her story, that I'd been cruel, unreasonable, controlling. I knew the truth, and so did everyone who mattered. I wasn't the one who'd broken our marriage. I was just the one who'd finally stopped paying to keep it propped up, and that made all the difference.